Okay, well, welcome to this reading list session. Now, you might all be at different places in creating a reading list. So I'm just going to take you through the process of getting started with it, and we'll see how far we get. And we'll basically start from LearnLine, and we'll have a look at how you can add the reading list tool to your menu, to your learning unit content, or to your menu bar, depending if you're using Ultra or Original. And then we'll have a look at how you can create the reading list, how to add resources from the library, and we'll certainly have a look at how you can add online resources, because it's really, really easy. And we'll see how far in we get. But basically, we've got a reading list guide, and that will take you step by step through setting up your reading list. So there's some general information on what it is actually all about. And I know some of you are probably fairly new to CDU. I think Claire only just started the other day. So at this, well, up until now, or up until late last year, I suppose, we had a system called e-readings, and e-readings was and still is accessible from the library website. And it is basically a kind of repository, I suppose, of resources that we would have digitized for specific units, like a chapter in a print book or an article that we purchased. They were basically made accessible through e-readings. But that system is completely separate from the library. It's not linked to the library at all. It's kind of like this standalone thing that is getting older and older. It's getting more and more outdated and so on. And so we've basically looked for a system that can be integrated into the library management system. And that's basically what Reading List does. Reading List basically sits between LearnLine and the library. It actually connects the two of them. So as you come in from your LearnLine unit and create a reading list, it will create that reading list on the other side in the library management system. So what you do on one side happens on the other side. If I would, for example, go and delete something from your reading list on the library side, which I'm not going to do, it would actually delete it from the reading list in your LearnLine unit. So the two are connected. And what does that mean for you guys? You will have to, I suppose, create a reading list to start with. And I know many of you who have been around for a while, you would have had references, for example, in your learning materials, and then you've got links embedded in those references, and you would have experienced it again and again that links were broken. A year ago, we changed access from via EasyProxy to Open Athens, and that caused a whole lot of heartaches because you had to go and change all those links. All those issues are basically resolved through Reading List, because if we ever do a change like that, because the change happens in the library management system, the change will take place in your reading list as well. If a link, for example, is broken, student clicks on it in Reading List, it doesn't work, they have a button that they can click on, mark as broken, and we get a flag on our end that we need to fix that link, and so on. So look, yes, it is an initial little bit of a time investment, but you'll be surprised how fast you can actually set up the reading list. Because a lot of the time you would have typed in references, or you would have copied and pasted references and then embedded links, and then you probably got complaints from your students that, you know, the references that you have added are not according to the CDU referencing style. At least we get those complaints about units and all that kinds of stuff. No issues whatsoever, because you could just put a link into your learning material, go to your week 1 readings and embed the link to the reading list there, and the students get to that reading list. So there's heaps of benefits to using the reading list. It will tidy up your course material as well, your learning materials. And so, yeah, like I said, heaps and heaps of benefits. That reading list guide that I had on display before, you can find that from the library website. If you scroll down, you'll have the subject guides. So if you click on that, and then click on resources for academics, and you'll see there is that reading list guide. There's a bit more information. There's a few video clips. I know I've got a recording from a previous workshop. I'm actually going to replace that with the one that we're doing today, just to have an up-to-date one, because we've got some up-to-date information since that one time. So I'm certainly gonna update that. So your first step in accessing reading list is actually to add the reading list tool to your menu. I hope I can work with LearnLine and have that added as a permanent item to your menu so that you don't actually have to do that anymore. So hopefully for semester 1 next year, we'll be actually able to remove that tab in this guide because it'll automatically be there. There's instructions here for your original units. Now, on the last course, we had some discussions on what is original and what is ultra. How do I know what I've got? If you've got an original unit, you've got that black menu down the left side. All right, you'll see in an ultra unit, a lot is kind of just white and writing. The original units, they have that black menu. So what you're going to have to do to add the reading list link in original is go up in your menu. So open the unit. In the menu, scroll to the top and click on the plus tool link, and you get this little pop-up box as on the screen. Type in reading list into the first box, and then for the type, make sure you select reading list. Otherwise, it'll take students to weird places. Tick the box available to users, which basically means that once that unit becomes available to the students can see the reading list. Once you've done that, simply click submit. The ones of you using ultra units, on the left side of your screen in the ultra unit, you've got unit tools. Open the unit tools, they open up on the right side of your screen. Click on the plus. If you click on the word reading list, yes, it will open up a reading list for you, or it'll go to the reading list program, but it does not actually add the tool to your unit content. So you might have the perfect reading list going, but the students won't be able to see it because you haven't actually added it to your unit content. So make sure you select the plus. It'll go in as hidden from students. Click on there's a little arrow next to hidden from students. Click on that and make it visible for your students. So if you all want to go that way, so I can quickly show you here. I've got to work out where I'm at here. I've got weird units open. So if I go to one of my units, and you'll see I've already got reading list added. If you've got original units, you know that you can just drag menu items up and down to wherever you would like them to go. So that's the little plus at the top. Tool link, type in reading list. And the reason why we ask you to put in reading list and not whatever, readings, for example, is that way we're going to have the same name across all units, and students, as they move through their course, it is always called reading list. Available to users, and submit. And so by now I've got three links added. You really only want one. If you ever need to delete one, you can just click on the little drop down and delete. And just delete this menu item, and it'll make it go away again. If you have an ultra unit, and I'll get you to everyone to give it a go. I'm just going to have to find my ultra unit. There is one somewhere. Here it is. So that's how the Ultra units look like. So kind of a lot of white unit tools on the left side. Click on View Unit Tools. And then that's your reading list over here. Use the plus symbol to add it. Scroll down to your unit content. And again, I've already had one. And that's where you would make it visible to students so that once the unit becomes available, students can access that reading list. All right, if you want to give this a go, open up one of your units and see if you can add the tool, and then let me know once you're done. Fantastic. Angela and Andy, you guys all right? Okay, and I've lost my screen in the meantime. Here it is. Sorry about that. Okay, not a problem. That's fantastic, Andy. Angela, are you all right? And otherwise, we'll just move along. Okay, so once you've got it set up, doesn't matter if you're using original or if you're using Ultra, simply click on Reading List. And I'm just trying to... Okay, so once you click on Reading List, I have no idea, hopefully I don't have anything attached to this anymore, you will come up with this screen. And on this screen at this stage, simply click Create or Create it. Now, so we've done the first tab, so we're actually on the second tab here in the guide. So we've just gotten this screen, we've clicked on Create it. I'd like to ask you to kind of follow the naming convention of unit code. So I might just use one that I used the other day. So unit code, semester 2, or whatever it might be. For some of you, it might be terms, and the year. You will see when we get there. Okay, not a problem. Angela, we've added reading list as a tool, and we're just now creating a reading list. Okay, not a problem. So in terms of the naming convention, if you can go with unit code, the semester, and the year, for the students, it probably doesn't make that much of a difference. But it makes a difference at our end when we see your reading list, because it makes it really clear to us that, okay, that's the unit, that's the semester it is for, and that's the year it is for. It makes it really, really easy to see. Claire, you can always change the name once you've got the list open. That's not a problem at all if you kind of did the name instead of the unit code. You can add a description if you want, not really necessary, and then click on create. Now, again, on our guide, this is what we've done. Now we're getting to the templates here. There is an option to just set up a blank reading list. Basically, what you'd like to do is set up your reading list exactly the same way as your learning material. If your learning material is in modules, set up the reading list in modules. If it's in topics, set up in topics. If it's weeks, set up in weeks. And that way, it makes it really easy to go back and forth. Students will know exactly where to go. The templates are all set up with prescribed text, recommended readings, and then module 1 to 6 or topic 1 to 6 and so on. They're really easy to edit. So if you know you've got week 1 to 12, but you don't really have a prescribed text, I would still select that because it's 2 clicks to delete the section, so it's really easy. I'm going to pick the blank one on purpose because I just want to show you how to set up a section if you decide to do something completely different. So you click on blank, and that's basically where you will get to your reading list. So as you can see, there's nothing at all in there. It will ask me to start with to set up some sections. So you click on new section, and we'll call it week 1. You could expand on that, especially if you work with modules. You might want to say module 1, week 1, and then you might have another one, module 1, week 2, or something along those lines, or you might add a topic name after it, whatever it might be. You could add a description. Leave the dates open. You don't really want dates on your sections because you really want your readings accessible to the students for the whole semester. So if you were to add in dates for the specific weeks, at the end of that week, the section would just disappear and the students wouldn't see it anymore. So just leave it open, and that way the students have access for the whole duration of the course. And then you select create. So I've got a section here for week 1. I might do another one just so I've got something to play with here for week 2. You could have a section for assignment 1, for example. If there are specific readings you would like to give to the students for a specific assignment, you could have a section for assignments. All right, so it's completely up to you how you would like to set that up. So that's basically how you would set up your reading list. And like I said, set it up the same way as your learning materials. Now, our next step on the guide, so we've done that. If you ever get something about course association at that stage, there's instructions here on how to deal with that. Let's add some library resources to our reading list. So we're talking about items that are accessible through CDU Library. They're really easy to add because you just go add items and use library search. This is exactly the same thing as if you search library search from the library website. It looks a little bit different. It's probably a little bit less user-friendly because you'll see your filters and so on are tightly bundled up and there's not as many. So if you struggle to find something, then I would probably open another tab with library search, find it there, work out what you need to put into the search box to locate it, and then go that way. So if we search for, and I'm going to pick a book on purpose, I think I did that the other day, Understanding Health. Again, you can use exactly the same tools as in library search. If you have a title, be it for a book, an article, put double quotation marks around it to tie those words together and search. Okay, so I've got a book here. Looks like there's multiple versions available of that book. Looks like there's 5 physical copies. It's available at Casuarina Library, so I might have a look at what the other additional copies are. Okay, so I can see there is an electronic copy of the 4th edition. Again, there's a print copy of that'll be the 4th edition as well. So I want the electronic copy. So I simply select it by clicking on it. It gives me the option to add to my list, which is what I want. And yes, I want this to go into week 1. And I simply go add. Done. That book has been added to my reading list. Okay, does everyone want to give it a go with adding something, or are you already busily adding things? Fantastic, thanks Claire. Hi Charmaine. Already doing this, that's great. Okay, and you can always just add something completely random for the time being, and then you can just delete it out again afterwards. If you need to delete something, for example, as you can see, I've got my reading list title, which is basically just a unit code, 3 dots behind it. I've got my section, week 1, 3 dots behind it, and I've got my reading, 3 dots behind it. If I want to edit any of those things, use the 3 dots. If I want to rename my reading list, which Claire might have done, click on the 3 dots, edit. You could delete your whole reading list. You can get a link to your reading list. If you want to put into your learning material, here are your readings for this unit, click on create a shareable link here for the whole reading list. Okay, I want a link to the list, and you can then embed that into your learning material. If you want to link to a specific week, for example, if you just want to say at the end of week 1, go to your week 1 readings, you could get the link for the week 1 section. Again, create shareable link. And if you want to say, please read this article, this book chapter, you could do exactly the same from a specific reading. Create a shareable link. So the wording is the same on each one of them. Now, I've picked the book on purpose. If this was an article, that would be pretty much the end of it. But I would like my students to read the introduction of this book in week 1. At this point in time, it just sits there as a whole book. Now, there's a few ways you can go about it. I think one is probably more user-friendly than another. For the students, I think look at it from the students' point of view as well. One is probably a little bit faster for you, but less user-friendly for the students. Because you could basically just click on the item and add a public note for your students. Please read the introduction, page 2 to 16, or something along those lines. You could add that as a note and leave it as that. That's kind of probably the faster way for you, but for the students, I think, yeah, less user-friendly. Probably not too bad with an ebook, because the ebook, when the student clicks on the item and uses the link, that link will actually go to the book as a whole. They will then use the table of contents to access the chapter that you would like them to read. The other way is that you basically use the 3 dots and say, I'm going to edit my book, and I'm going to change the type of the resource, which is currently book. I'm going to change that to book chapter. And now I can add in a chapter title. I could add in chapter authors if there were specific authors, if each chapter is written by a different author. I can add chapter number, and I could add page numbers. And then I'm going to save that, and you'll see over here it has very clearly changed to book chapter. That's the chapter title, and here's my page numbers. All right, to do this again, you click on the three dots and edit the item. I'm just going to change that back. So it comes in and it's just a book. So what you change is the type of the resource, because you want your students to read a chapter, not the whole book at this point in time. You want to tell them which chapter they need to read, so we change to book chapter. And then you fill in, then the template here changes, so you have to select the chapter title, chapter author, only if there is an author, give it a chapter number, and do the page numbers, and then save. Yep, so Angela, that's a really good question. Yes, if I'm going to use this book throughout the whole course, so in week 2, I would like my students to read chapter 2. So I'm going to search for the book again. So it was in there. I want the ebook, and I'm going to add it now to week 2. So again, I've got it sitting in week 2, and I'm going to do exactly the same. Edit the item, book chapter, chapter 2, and it'll be pages 11 to, I don't know, 21, and save. There's my chapter 2 in there as well. So yeah, you basically just keep listing it. I was actually just thinking you could probably even just copy. So if I change my, that might even be the faster way. Copy this list, and then I could say, okay, I'm going to move that into assignment 1 and confirm. So I've created a copy of what I had in week 1, and I stuck it into assignment. So that's the option as well. But now I'm going to have to edit and change my chapter. So that might be the faster way than go add item, add it, and then edit it. Use the 3 dots, copy citation, shift, tell it where you want that copy to go, and then you edit that copy. So that's definitely an option as well. All right, so I'm going to delete that last one out. So that's basically how you would add library items. Now, if I, for example, have a book and there is only a print copy. So I'm just going to, I know there's electronic copies as well. I'm going to pick that one and I'll add it. So there is a print copy, and I want my students to read a chapter in that book, for example. Again, I do exactly the same thing. I edit book chapter. I'm just going to call it exactly the same. I want them to read chapter 1. I'll add my page numbers and I'll save. But it's only accessible as a print, and it's the only chapter I want them to read in this book. I can now click on this book chapter in my print book, and I can put in a request for digitization. That will come in at our end as a digitization request. And so if I digitization request, it's a bit of double handling, because it'll ask you again for the chapter. So I had chapter 1, pages 2 to 11, and I'm not going to submit it because that will actually go through. If I submit that, it will raise a flag on the library's end and will get a notification that I would like to have this chapter digitized for this specific unit. Copyright is still the same as always, 1 chapter from a book per unit. So nothing's changed there, but it's a really easy way for you to get a chapter digitized. So that's basically your library resources and how you add those. Is everyone good with that so far? Now, you see how you've got this little, my list is at 21%. This has nothing to do with what's happening over here. Well, it has, but some people have kind of gone, oh, there's something wrong with this item. It's only at 21%. Don't worry about it. This is about the overall health of your reading list. So you could add tags, you could add notes, and you could add more items and so on, more sections. All those things will make that percentage increase. I wish they would just make this tiny somewhere, because it's not really, you just want to put your reading list together. Let's put it like that. We don't really need this big kind of health, the health of your reading list kind of thing. So it's got nothing to do with where a specific item that you're working on in your reading list is at. This is kind of like an overall health meter for your reading list, and I would just ignore it, to be very honest. You could add some collaborators. If you've got another academic who's working with you in the unit, you could add them as a collaborator or an instructor to your reading list, and so on. So you could add some people. Now, in terms of online resources, because I know many of you, you're using YouTube clips, reports, policies, guidelines, and all those kinds of resources, websites. There is a really easy way to add these to your reading list. Under your initials in the top right corner, you have a circle and it'll have your initials in it. Click on that and you'll see you get a little drop down, and one of the items is called Cited. You click on that, you get this little box here with this nice blue button, Cited. Pick up that button and drag it up into your bookmarks bar, favorites bar, depending on what browser you use. It's called something else in each one. And then just drop it in there so you can see it's sitting up here. And then you can just close this box. All you're doing is just add the tool to your bookmarks. Now that's always a bit of a tricky one, because some people don't use bookmarks, and the bookmarks can be accessed from different places in different browsers, which doesn't help either. So give this a go, see if you can place that Cited tool. Again, on your guide, under Add Online Resources, there are actually instructions on how to add the bookmark bar to various browsers like Chrome, Firefox, and Edge. I did those three. So if you don't have that enabled, there is instructions on the guide on how to go about that. Okay, so Firefox. I know we had someone with Firefox the other day. That's Chrome, that's Firefox. So when I looked at Firefox, I had to go to the 3 lines in the top right corner, then select Library, Bookmarks, Bookmarking Tools, and view bookmark toolbar. That's the steps that I had to go through to get that bookmarks toolbar going. So if you want to give it a go with that, Claire, let me. Okay, yep, not a problem. So that these instructions, you'll find them in the reading list guide, if I can get back to it properly. So it's in the reading list guide under Add Online Resources, and it's got the instructions here on using Cited. And under the step 2, there is instructions on how to actually get that tool, that bookmark bar going. Okay, so once you've got that tool added, I've got it twice now, so I'm going to get rid of one. If I, for example, let me think, let's go to okay, Wiley has just published a new textbook. Now, can I find one? All right, Wiley, they've just published a new textbook for all things. It's Accounting for Dummies. You've looked in the library and the library does not have this. Not even the print book. We just don't have it. So what you can do is, okay, here it is on the Wiley website, and you basically would like the library to purchase this item. So you've got your reading list open in another tab. You've opened the book on your Wiley website, and now you simply use Cited. So you click on that, and this works on YouTube, it works on websites, it works on a whole lot of resources. Now, as you can see, once I've hit Cited, I get this little box, add this to my list. Now, I'd encourage you, especially if it's information from a website or a document like a policy, for example, from a website, just have a quick look at the title and make sure that that title actually means something. I've had whole first paragraphs of reports go into the title box, and it was like, when I looked at it, once the reading list was submitted, it was like, whoa, what on earth is this? So just double check the title, just have a quick squeeze through. Is the title? Yep, that's correct, 7th edition. Yes, author, all good. Looks all good, what's there, publisher, and so on. At the bottom, I'm going to say, well, I want to add this to my list, and I'm going to add this to my ABC 123 list, which is the one I'm working on, and I want it to go into week 1, and I'm going to say add and close. Your item was successfully added. Okay. Now go back to my reading list, and as you can see, the item is nowhere to be seen. Some people, sometimes it's there immediately. I was in a workshop the other day that one of my colleagues ran, and I was just sitting there in the background, and she used it, and it was visible immediately. Doesn't work for me. So what you've got to do is, if it doesn't show, don't panic and do it another 5 times. Either just close your reading list by going on that purple white X, or you can use your back arrow up here, on the green, go back a step if it allows you. So here's my reading list, and I'm just going to click straight back onto that reading list, and it'll open the reading list again. And here is my ebook, Accounting for Dummies, that I just added from that website using Cited. So you might just have to refresh the page. Now, because I would like the library to purchase this book, I've got this option here to add a tag. And when you click on that, there's only one tag. It looks like you could add your own tags. It doesn't work. It's preset, and you can even type things in there and click save, and then nothing happens. So there's one preset tag, purchase me. Okay, then I can save that, which again, I'm not going to do that because I don't want this to go through. But basically, if I save that, when your reading list is being processed by our staff, they will kind of go through it and kind of go with something like an ebook that's already in the library management system that will be set to complete, where this one will indicate on our end that, okay, we need to do some work on this. And when we look at what needs to be done, we'll see that, okay, it is a purchase request. And then we'll have a look what we can get, just so that you know the ebook with books is always our preferred option. It's not every now and then there's an ebook we can't get. As an individual, you could get the ebook, but we can't get it as a library. That does happen, but we do our best basically to get the ebook. And then, you know, once we get the ebook, that purchase me tag will disappear and they will add the link to the ebook and sort all that out. And then once the reading list is complete, they release it back to your unit. So that's how you could put in the purchase request. Those of you who have managed to add Cited, have you had a bit of a play? And has it worked? And when you're using Cited, basically go as close as you can get to the resource that you want to use. If it's something where a document actually downloads, then you might have to use the page where the document sits. Obviously, if the PDF opens up and it has a URL, then you can literally open up the PDF and use Cited from there. So it makes it really, really easy.
Sorry, Lisa.
Yeah.
Can I ask one silly question here?
Certainly.
When I got the prescribed textbook from library, and of course I added the item under the prescribed text, so
Yep.
The student can just access it if there's online version, is it?
Yes. Yeah. So the students, they actually see pretty much what you can see. There is like a student view, but I actually think it's a bit dodgy because there's actually a few things missing. So the students, they will see something like this. So you can see it looks very much like what you see. Obviously, they can't edit it. And so the student would, for example, okay, I've got to read this chapter. And they simply click on the link that's provided and the ebook will open up and they can go find the chapter. Because it's remember, it's directly linked to the library resources. And so that will just go straight through to the book. Or if it's a journal article, so here's the book and off they go. Not a problem. So that's the bonus, and that's where that's what's missing here, for example. That's actually where the students have a button, mark as broken. So if they click on that link and it doesn't work, they can click on that mark as broken button and it'll come to us. It doesn't come to you and you have to work out what you might have to do. It comes straight to us and we can have a look at that link and fix it for you. And that might be a link to some document online, or it might be a link to a library resource. Either one, will have a look at it. And if it's something to some online resource and we can't work it out, then we basically get in touch with you and kind of go, hey, there's a broken link, but we can't actually work out where it might sit, or we can't find it anymore, and so on. And then we'll take live from there. Now, for those of you who have items in e-readings, so I mentioned, hang on, let's go to the library website. I mentioned right at the beginning that the old system e-readings, that system will be turned off at the end of the month. things won't be deleted, but they're not accessible anymore. So if you have any items in e-readings, all you've got to do is basically click on there, you log in, and you can search with your unit code. If you have no idea if you have e-readings, if you've inherited a unit, for example, and some of them I've got access to and others I don't, you know, and you kind of go, whoa, there's a whole lot of stuff, and have a quick look. Do you want them or not? If you don't want them, don't worry about it, ignore them, and just do your reading list and don't worry about what you've got. But say, for example, you want to use some of those readings. See, and now I get that permission thing. You click on the reading so that the reading details will display, and then you cite it. And it'll be exactly the same as I did with my Accounting for Dummies here. It will add it. It'll have a very clear link that says e-readings, which makes it really easy at our end, because we can kind of go, okay, this thing is sitting in e-readings, and what we will do is we bring it from e-readings, from the old system. We actually take that file and stick it into the library management system, and it will be accessible then to your students. Again, library staff will change the link for you and tidy that up. So if you've got anything in e-readings, just have a quick squeeze. Do you want those readings or not? If not, ignore. If yes, stick them into your reading list so that they are brought over into the library management system. So that's how you would deal with e-readings. Again, on the guide, there is a tab on Add Resources from e-readings that will basically take you through that step. We've actually already talked about requesting resources, so that would have been your digitization request and your purchase me tag. We've already looked at adding links to learning materials. All right, so that was that shareable links. Create a shareable link and then embed that into your learning materials. So there's no need to add all these long reading lists in your learning material. You could just go read the article by whoever and embed the link, that shareable link here, into that into the wording. So we've done that one. Edit or remove reading. Use your 3 buttons. Delete item. To move a reading, if it's, if it is just a reading, when you go to the right side of that reading, you get this blue bar, and you can actually drag your readings. You can drag them into a different section even. If you just want to swap something around up or down, you could even use the little arrows at the top, and you can shift reading up step by step. So it depends if you want to move them all over the place, or if it's just one step up or down, you could use those little arrows as well. So that would be to move a reading. Because you can only have one level of sections, all right, that's been a challenge for some people who basically said, well, I want, you know, a section for module 1 week 1, and then I want the section for module 1 week 2, but I've already set up my reading list. And when you add a new section, so if I were to add a section now, week 1.1, it doesn't stick it after week 1, it sticks it at the bottom of my reading list. And unfortunately, for some strange reason, the sections can't be moved the same way as your readings can be. It would make perfect sense to me that you could just click at the end of a section and drag it up or down. But you can't do that for some strange reason. What you've got to do if you want to move a section is the 3 dots, as with everything, and you add that section. You basically copy or cut and paste that section to your clipboard. And now, as you can see, I've got this moving hand. I can actually shift it, and I can kind of go, yep, here, that's where I want to move it to, between week 1 and week 2. And I click in there, and here's my week 1 that has slipped into that space now. My readings are not showing just because it has kind of folded up every section. So here's my readings again, but now my week 1 has been moved up. Again, don't feel like you remember all that, okay? You've got moving readings and sections in the guide. To finalize your list, library review. Once you're finished with creating your reading list and adding readings, select library review. That will basically at our end, and I might quickly show that to you. Can I just add that? So if I have a look at my reading list, it might have thrown me out of this in the meantime. So this is my reading list. That's on the library side. So you guys don't see that, but that's on my list side, and it shows as being prepared. So that basically means someone is working on it, nothing will be done. If I select library review, because I'm finished with my reading list, on our side, the status of this list will change to ready for processing. Now one of us will pick up that reading list, we'll have a look at it and kind of go, okay, Understanding Health, that's an ebook, already complete, good to go. Accounting for Dummies has the status ready for processing. We'll have a look and we can see, oh, that's a book on wiley.com, and we'll actually also be able to see that there is a Purchase Me tag attached to that. And then we'll go from there basically. So that's kind of how things look like at our end. So make sure that when you're finished, that you click on library review. If you have clicked on library review and we've gone through your list and we've set it to complete, and then you kind of go, oh, there's another reading I want to add, just add it, not a problem at all. Hit library review again. That'll change the status again from complete this time to ready for processing. And again, we'll have a quick look at it, work out what you might have added, and set it to complete again, and make sure that your new reading that you have added is accessible. So that's kind of the last step. There's a few other bits and pieces. There's kind of a variety of ways to take a reading list into the next semester, and we're still going to have to do a little bit of playing in terms of what's the best way to go about it. You can roll over a reading list into a new unit, or you can just basically take a reading list and associate it with a different unit. You could just simply copy a reading list and attach it to a different unit. So we're going to have to, I think as time goes, we'll do some playing with that. And I know from semester 1 to semester 2, some people have rolled over, some people have copied the reading list and then attached it through the course association to the next course. So there's a bit of a variety of things that can be done. And the other thing you could do, you could add notes, and I kind of mentioned that earlier. So if you want to add something to a reading that you feel is important and you would like your students to see, add it as a public note. So that's pretty much it. Angela, in terms of can we leave it open if there's nothing to be bought or digitized? No, still submit it for review, because we're basically gonna look at everything that you have added using Cited, for example. So yeah, if you have a reading list that's just not ready to go yet, you know, if you, for example, and I know it happens that you might only have half the course ready by the time the semester starts, perfectly fine, perfectly fine. Do the reading list as far as you can, submit it, we'll check it and we publish it back to your unit. The students then have access to those resources, and as you further develop the unit and add readings, just keep submitting it. Okay, the students will still have access to the readings, the ones that are set to complete. The one thing that where we will get in touch, yeah, basically the readings that are not set to complete. So for example, you know, if I've got that accounting for dummies here, for example, and it's ready for processing, the students won't have access to that. So to say, I don't think I added a website on this one. So if there's a website, all we'll do is we'll have a quick click on the URL, yep, working, and we set it to complete, done. So yeah, I would definitely just submit it at some point in time, and then we'll quickly go over it, and then you can continue to add items as you go. If it's for semester 2, obviously, you know, if it's for semester 1 next year, you know, take your time. No rush. But if it's for semester 2, which most of you would be working on, then I would just submit it at some point in time with what you've got. We'll get that sorted out, and then you can continue to add things, just to make sure that the students have full access to the resources that they need for those first few weeks. And like I said before, please do not attach PDF documents. So say, for example, there's a government report. Use Cited to add the link to your reading list instead of adding the PDF. Because if you add the PDF, we will just ditch your PDF and we'll change it and add the link to it. If there is a document, and we've had that happening a few times, that there was a document written by the lecturer of the unit, for example. I've got one of those. The lecturer has written the document, she has attached the document to the reading list. We basically need to know that you give us the permission under copyright to use that document. So what we basically do is we'd get you to send us a note. I allow Charles Darwin University to use my, I don't know, my paper, document, article, title for learning and teaching purposes, for example, something along those lines. And we will then take your document and your note and we'll add that to the library management system. And the students will basically then get the link to that document, but the document is not attached to the reading list anymore. The document is actually saved in the library management system, like our ebooks, journal articles, and so on. We've got a specific collection for items like that, and that's basically then how access is provided. And it's purely, we've got to make sure that we are copyright compliant, and that's one part how we can make sure that, yeah, that we're not in breach of copyright. And like we had someone today who had an article which was actually by someone else. Again, couldn't find the document online. So I actually ended up sending an email to the author of the document and CC'd the lecturer in, and then it turned out that she had actually already done that, and so on. So that's pretty much all sorted out. So we just basically got to get that copyright permission that we can digitize that item and make it available to the students, and basically anyone who's got access to CDU resources, so who's got a login, they will be able to access that resource. And that's pretty much it. Adding notes. You've got a folder called My Collection, and just really quick, add item. You could add something to your collection. The blank form, basically, if Cited doesn't work, it happens every now and then. The blank form, you can basically just manually fill in the details of a resource. The collection is your own bucket of resources. So say, for example, you have a reading list and you know you're going to run this probably over a few semesters, the unit, but you might change some readings. You could just shift the reading into your collection. and it'll make it really easy for you to access again at a later stage. So it's just, as you can see, I've got a whole lot in here. So that just kind of sits across all your reading lists. You'll have items in your collection that you could use in the future sometime. So yeah, so that's just kind of like your own private bucket of resources that you could draw from. Okay, any questions? As we're already a little bit over time. Oh, everyone good? And look, if you've got any questions, then please just get in touch. Give me a call, send us an email, just get in touch, and then we'll go from there. Not a problem at all. Okay, thanks everyone, and I'll put that recording up on the guide as well, so you can always go to that as well.